In my previous video, I made this fancy timber and steel double gate that swings both ways like Freddie Mercury and looks like a Bohemian Rhapsody. But the gates needed an equally fancy way to keep them shut. So in this video, I'm going to make a fancy sliding bolt that I can even lock with a padlock if I want. I must warn you though, the original design of this latch turns out to be a little weak. I end up needing to rebuild it to be Kiwi tough, so that it can handle the kind of weather we sometimes get down here in New Zealand on the closest continent to Antarctica.
Oh my god, Daz. Argentina is actually closer to Antarctica, and New Zealand is just a couple of islands, not a continent, you drongo.
Alright Shaz, details schmeetails. Enough chitter chatter, let's get it done, eh? I made a little sketch, worked out some dimensions, and a plan was latched. I decided to make a simple sliding bolt from some 6mm by 40mm steel I had lying around. I figured I would just route a channel in some wood to house the sliding bolt to simplify its construction. I marked out the dimensions on the steel bar, whipped out old choppy, and I was away. The only tricky piece of the design was a small piece of metal that would protrude through the gaps in the slats to allow the gate to be opened from the other side. All the parts chopped and time to sand off all the mill scale. Grind a smooth end on the sliding bolt and smooth the edges of the parts. I find the big open-ended vice grips are way faster than the clamps for holding down the parts. All ground and over to drilly to make some fixing holes for the catch part. Parts all smooth and shiny and we're ready to fab them all together. I made a bit of an error here as I had labelled all the parts before I ground them and I should have relabelled them again. You'll see the mistake in a minute. The red contraption is a handy right angle welding jig I made in a previous video. Link in the corner of the screen. I could have just held the parts together with magnets, but I have this thing so why not use it? Alright, now the fun part. Time to look like a deep ocean diver and get busy with the hot metal glue gun. I fire up the MIG welder, use a bit of scrap to adjust the settings, and we're away. Using the hot metal glue gun, I squirt metal at all the parts to join them together. I've learned my lesson from when I warped my gate frames, and so rather than worrying about how my welds look, I just spot my joints together rather than running continuous beads, to avoid overheating the metal, giving the metal a chance to cool a little between the spots. Metal is great to work with. Tack parts first and check. It's easy to grind off a spot and make an adjustment before respotting the joint and welding off. This smaller part is a catch, so I can use a padlock to lock the bolt shut. Kiwi Dazz strikes again.
Something's wrong.
I accidentally mixed up two parts from the project, one from the catch and one from the bolt, that are similar in size. It means the part that goes through the gaps between the horizontals on the gate is in the wrong place. Since it's metal, it's an easy fix. I decide to chop out a small section of the metal and weld it back together. Once it's painted, no one will know. Oh wait, except you guys. So shh. Crisis averted, and I tidy up my welds with a die grinder and a flap disc on my grinder. The die grinder is great for getting in where the flap disc can't. But the metal filings it puts out suck, so cover yourself in safety gear when using the curly needle sprayer. Oh yeah, it's starting to come together now. A trick I learned from spray painting bike frames as a kid, hang up the parts with a bit of wire so you can spray them easily from all directions. Always less is more when it comes to spray paint. Avoid the temptation and quit before you start getting runs. Onto the wood choppy to cut some blocks of leftover hardwood to make housings and a stop for the sliding bolt. I mark out the channel for the bolt recess. There's probably a better way, but I use a piece of duct tape to hold down the hardwood to my table for routing. I clamp some scraps of timber to the edge of my bench to act as a fence for my trim router. I'm all about getting it done with what you got, showing everyone you don't need a fancy shop and a bunch of expensive tools to get it done. Sometimes a bit of tape and some scraps of wood on a piece of plywood pretending to be a table are all you need. I need a channel for the 6mm thick bolt. My little angry electric Beaver's got a handy little wheel to adjust the depth, so I take a few passes, increasing the depth each time. I check the depth with the bolt and make the second one for the other side of the gate. My design has the bolt sliding between the horizontal timber slats and the steel frame, so I need to route a channel into the vertical timber fixing rails of my gate. With the horizontals all marked out on the verticals, I choose the middle one for locating the bolt. I mark out where I need the channel for the bolt and clamp a few scraps of wood to guide the angry wood muncher. Check out my Great Gates playlist for more info on my gates and to meet my shade throwing better half, Kiwi Shazz. I tidy up the edges with a sharp chisel and the angry wood smoother. Splash on some stain and it's assembly time. I had made the bolt while my gate was at the powder coater, so it was ready to go in as I assemble the gate. I'm routing a bevel on the opening on the gate that receives the bolt to help guide the bolt into place when closing the gate. Crafty Dazz is using a bevel bit on the router that has a wheel on the bottom that guides it. He worked out if he screwed a plastic spacer between the horizontal and the verticals, the wheel on the bit could fit inside the channel and make this job easy. Nice work, Dazz. He clamps the wooden bolt housings in place and checks the bolt action before attaching them with a few short screws. Pretty impressed with yourself, aren't you, Mr. Dazz? He attaches the catch for the padlock with a couple short screws and attaches a little block to stop the bolt sliding out of its housings. Very nice, Kiwi Dazz, very nice.
Hi, I'm Fred Dagg reporting for Kiwi News. It's another bloody windy day down here in Kiwi land. It was so windy today that this young girl got blown off her feet into the street and almost got run over by a car. The wind has also caused havoc for your favourite DIYer, world famous YouTuber Kiwi Dazz. The new latch on his fancy new gates couldn't handle the jandle and got bent in the gale force winds earlier today. Signing off, Fred Dagg, Kiwi News.
I reluctantly dismantle my new latch, but I'm determined. The wind is not going to win this battle. I've got steel and I've got fire, and I'm going to build Back Beefier. I number the slats I remove with a pencil so later on they can go back from where they came. I also need to remove the surrounding slats so that I can get the router in to make the channel deeper. What are you planning, Kiwi Dazz? I hear you say. I'll all come clear in a minute. I attach some timber offcuts as temporary guides for the angry electric beaver and route the channels twice as deep as they were. Luckily, there's enough meat in the verticals to accommodate this, just. I set the angry electric beaver onto the other side and I'm on to beefing up the bolt. I use more of the same bar I made the bolt from and cut a piece to overlay on. A clever hack for quickly stripping paint from metal is to hit it with fire. You don't need to burn it off, you just heat it a little and then hit it with your grinder, or like I am, a wire wheel, or as I call it, the spinning needle wheel of terror. This method worked a charm and we're ready to laminate. I throw all the clamps in the shed at it to keep it tight and straight and fire up the hot metal glue gun. To avoid overheating the metal and the warping that can cause, I throw away all the dreams of perfectly stacked dimes and weld the two bars together with a series of small sections of weld, working my way around and slowly filling in the sections until the full perimeter is welded. With the help of time-lapse, I am transformed into Superhero Flash, and the spinning metal smoother makes the laminated bars look like one. I throw a little weld into the areas that cry out for more and whiz them off again in the fading light. To make the channels in the hardwood bolt housings deeper, I get even cleverer than before and stick both pieces down together to half the task. I clamp down a scrap as a guide again and get even cleverer, screwing a piece of scrap wood to my bench as a guide on the other side, halving the task again. I fire up the angry electric beaver and chew out the channel. Unfortunately, the catch screw holes are now visible for 2 of the 4 screws. So I insert them and chop off the end of the 2 screws with a hacksaw.
Time to tidy up.
I give the new Beefier bolt a final whiz with a finer grit wheel and we're ready for paint.
It's time to paint the latch for the gate. Baby, I'm just gonna shake. I shake it off, woo-hoo-hoo.
Channeling Taylor Swift, oh dear Kiwi Dazz. I repaint the latch and catch, then touch up the stain on the latch housing and stop block. I hold the screws I shortened with the hacksaw with vice grips and grind them back a little so they are short of hitting the bolt and reattach the catch to the housing. I decide to trail an improvement and melt candle wax into the channels in the housings and pull off the gates and do the same in the channels on the gate verticals. I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One, to help the bolt slide, but also I noticed the paint was already wearing off the bolt when I took it apart. You see, the treatment used for exterior timber in New Zealand is copper based. And copper and steel don't love each other, so I'm hoping that the wax might act as a barrier and stop them from fighting. I reinstall the horizontals I removed. To get them back into their original fixing holes, I had numbered them, and another little hack is to screw the screws in so that their points are all sticking out of the back just a little bit. This means you can use the screw points to locate the board into the existing holes and then simply tighten the screws into the existing holes. I do the same to reinstall the bolt housings and ta-da, there we have it. Built Back Beefier. The Beefier sliding bolt is now 40 by 12 millimeters, and hopefully that's strong enough this time. I live in the capital of New Zealand, Wellington, also known as Windy Wellington, so time will tell. I'm pretty happy with the gates anyway. I love how easy this latch is to open the gates from either side. The only thing these gates really need is a way to keep them fixed against the house and the fence when they are open. I've already started devising a plan for how to hold the gates open, but you're just gonna have to hit that subscribe button to find out how that pans out in a future video.